having impressed on her heart the beautiful image of Shri Rama as he appeared while running in pursuit of the false deer. Sita incessantly repeats Sri Hari's name, having impressed on her heart the beautiful image of the Sri Rama as he appeared while running in pursuit of the false deer. Sita incessantly repeats the Sri Hari's name. When the Lord of Raghu saw his younger brother coming, the outward expressed much concern. As you have left Janka's daughter alone and come here against my instruction. Host of the demons are roaming about in the forest. Therefore, against my instruction, host of the demons are roaming. Host of the demons are host of the demons are roaming about in the forest. I therefore suspect Sita is not at the hermitage. Lakshmana clasped Sri Rama's lotus feet and replied with joined palm, Lord, it is no fault of mine. Accompanied by his younger brother, the Lord went back to his hermitage on the bank of the Godavari. When he saw the hermitage bereft of the Janaka's daughter, he felt as perturbed and afflicted as any common man. As Sita Janaka's daughter, the very mind of the virtue, or such a flawless beauty, character, austerity, and devotion, Lakshmana consolated him in many ways. He cautions all the creepers He cautions all the creepers and trees that stood on the way as he went along in search of her. O bride and dear, O string of bees, have you seen the fawn eyes Sita, the wagtail, the parrots and pigeon, the deer, the fish, the swarm of bees, the clever cuckoo, the jasmine birds, the pomegranate, the lightning, the lotus, the autumnal moon, the gliding serpent, the noose of Varuna, the god of water, the bow of Cupid, the swan, the elephants, and the lion now hear themselves praised. The bilva fruits and the gold banana rejoice and do not feel the least misgiving or bashfulness. Listen, Janka's daughter, in your absence today, they are all glad that they have got a kingdom. How can you bear such rivalry? Why do you not reveal yourself quickly, my darling? In this way, the Lord searched and lamented like an anxious husband, sore smitten with pains of the separation. Sri Rama, who is bliss personified and has all his wishes accomplished, and who is both unborn and immortal, behaved like a mortal. Further on, Further on, they saw the king of vultures lying with his thoughts fixed on Sri Rama's feet, which bear characteristic mark on his soul. Sri Rama have well nigh exalt on list of the burden besets as well as inanimate object of which Indian poet usually like to limb of the charming lady. Of these, the eyes are compared to the fish and wagtail, as well as of the eyes of the fawn, the nose of the parrot beak, the neck to that of the pigeon, the curly hair to the swarm of bees, the voice to the notes of the cuckoo, the teeth to the jasmine birds, and the seed of the pomegranate, the complexion of lightning, the construction of lighting, the eyes and the face, as well as hands and the feet of the lotus, the face of the autumnal moon, the birds and hair hanging on the back of the gliding serpent, the smile of the nose of the Varuna, the eyebrow to Cupid bow, the gait to that the swan as the elephant, the waist to that of the lion, the breast of the bilva fruits, and the thigh of the gold banana. The idea here is that through models of beauty, so far as earthly women are concerned, not of these analogous astute comparison, while Sita limps and has they dare not face the latter out of the ship. Now the Sita was no more to be seen. They all regained the supremacy and executed over the good fortune. The scripture mentioned 48 mark of the sole of the Lord's feet, 24 on each. Those of the left is vertical line is the Udana The second is the swastik. Third is the akastuna. The figure consists of pair of six square intersecting each other. Goddess lovely represents the golden coil describing two and a half concentric circle, a plug, a pestle, a figure of Shesha, the serpent gods, an arrow, the sky represented by the capital, a lotus, a carrot, and a thunderbolt, a grain of barley, the wish yielding, the wish yielding. The hero of line, the ocean of mercy, the ocean of the mercy, hero of rocket line, the ocean of the mercy, cares Jatayu's heads with his lotus hands, as the bird gazed on Shri Rama's countess, the home of the loveliness, or home of the loveliness, the countess is home of the loveliness, home of the loveliness, all his pains disappeared. The vulture now recovered himself and spoke to the follower. Listen, Rama, the allier of the fear of the transmigration. It was the thin-headed Ravana, my lord, who reduced me to this plight. It was the same wretch who carried off Ajanka's daughter. He took her. Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama. Trees of heaven, gods, flags, crowns. He took her away, holy sir, to the south, while she kept screaming loudly as an osprey. I have survived, my lord, only to behold you, my life. Come in about to, come in about to, about to, about to. About to. He took her away, holy sir, to the south while she kept screaming loudly as an ostrich. I have survived, my lord, only to behold you. My life now is about to depart to fountain of mercy, said Shri Rama. Live yet more, dear one. However, replied with smiles on his countenance, he whose very name so declare the Vedas redeems the most depraved soul is depraved soul. Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana. Dear one, he, however, replied with a smile on his countenance, he whose very name so declared the Veda deemed the most depraved soul, even if it is appears on his lips at a moment of his death, it present before me in a visible form. What more is wanting now, for which I should retain my body any longer? With his eyes full of tears, the Lord of Raghu replied, Dear father, you have attained to an invincible state by virtue of your own noble deed. Nothing is difficult of attained in this world to those who have other interests at heart. Casting off your body, dear father, proceed now to my divine abode. What should I give you when you have all your desires already accomplished? But on reaching their sire, tell not my father about Sita's abduction. If I am no other than Rama, if I am what I am, the ten-headed Ravana and his whole house will go and say everything to him. The vulture now dropped his body and assumed Sri Hari's own assumed Sri Hari's own forms, vacant with the many jewels and clad in the yellow attire of the matchless splendor, and possessed of the dark dew and the four legs long while arms, and with his eyes full of tears, he burst into praises of his Lord. Glory to the Ramas of incomparable beauty, who is absolute as well as is qualified, and the true impeller of Gunas Maya too. His fierce arrows are potent enough to cut off the terrible arms of the ten-headed Ravana. I incessantly adore the all merciful, the glory to Shri Rama of incomparable beauty, who is absolute as well as qualified, and the true impeller of Gunas Maya too. His fierce arrows are potent enough to cut off the terrible arm of the ten-headed Ravana. I incessantly adore the all merciful Shri Rama, the ornaments of the earth, who is endowed with a form dark as a rain cloud, a a face resembling the blue lotuses and a large eye resembling the red lotuses, possessed of the long arm. Possessed of the long arm, he rids his devotee of the fear of transmigration. His strength is immeasurable. He is without beginning and unborn, the one without a second, unweaned feast and imperceptible beyond the reach of his sense, though attainable with the deep of the Vedic hymns, the despair of the pains of opposite, such as joy and sorrow, birth and death, pleasure and pain, consciousness personified, the supporter of the earth, the delighter of the soul of countless saints and devotees who repeat the sacred name of the Rama, are ever extol Shri Rama, who loves and loves by those who are free from desires and curbs the host of the vicious properties such as lust and anger. Prosperity such as lust and so on. He who is with us personified and who is with us personified and unborn, whom the sake attend to throne and feed practices such as become my feast as a variety in the nation of the beautiful beauty and enrapture the whole animate and inanimate creation. He is the bee that resides in the lotus of my heart, and through every limb of his shines the splendor of many, a god of love. He who is at once inaccessible, and easily accessible, who has glorious disposition and both partial and impartial even placid, whom the yogi perceive with the great effort, subduing their sense and mind, that Rama, the abode of Rama, the abode of the Rama goddess Lakshmi, and the Lord of the three spheres, the entire creations, is even at the beak and call of his devotee. May his abide in my heart, whose holy praises put a stop to transmigration. Asking the boon of uninterrupted devotion, the vulture Jitavi ascends to the Shri Hari's abode. He has performed his vernal pile with the due ceremony and with his own hands, which is old and the Lord of Raghu is most tender-hearted and compassionate to the humble, and show his mercy even where there is no occasion for it. On a vulture who is most unclear and carnivorous birds, he comforts a state which is solicited even by the yogis. Listen, Uma, those people are unfortunate indeed who abandon Shri Hari, and become attached to the object of the sense. The two brothers proceeded further in the quest of the Sita and attached to the object of sense. The two brothers possessed the two brothers proceeded further in quest of the Sita and marked his tinkling of the forest even as they went. The thicket was full of creepers and the trees and inhabitants by many birds. uh, even as they want. Then ticket was full of creepers and trees and inhabited by many birds and trees, elephants and lions. Shri Rama and tree and inhabited by many foods, by many the Lord of Love is most tender-hearted and accompanied by the humble and shows his mercy even where there is no occasion for it. On a vulture who is most unclean and the carnivorous birds, he conferred a state which is solicited even by the yogis. Listen, those who are unfortunate indeed, who abandon Shri Hari and become attached to the object of the sense. The two brothers proceeded further in quest of the Sita and marking the tickling of the forest even as they went. The thicket was full of creepers and trees and inhabited by the many birds and the deer, elephants and the lion. Shri Rama overthrew the common Kabandha even as the latter met him on the way. He told him in his whole story about the curse pronounced to him. The Sheikh Durvasa had imprecated me. The sin has now been employed out by the sight of the Lord's feet. Listen, O Gandharva, to what I tell you. I cannot, therefore, an enemy of or the brother, enemy of the Brahmans. He who becomes clueless in thoughts, words, and deed, does service to the Brahmans, the very gods on the earth, wins even Brahma, Shiva, myself, and all the other divinities. A Brahman, even though he curse you, beat you, speak harsh words to you, is still worthy of adoration. So declare the saints. A Brahmans must be respected, though lacking in amiability and the virtue. Not so the Shudra, though possessing a host of virtue and rich in knowledge. The Lord instructed Kadamba in his own cult the cult of devotion, and was delighted at heart to see that devotion to his feet, having regained his original form, that of the Gandharva. She took she he Gandharva. Lord instructed Kabhananda and his whole cult, the cult of devotion, rich of the cult of devotion. The Lord instructed Kadambana in his own cult, the cult of devotion, and was delighted at heart to see his devotions to his feet. Having recognized his condition, having recognized his original form, that of the Gandharva, he bowed his head to the lotus feet of the Shri Rama, the Lord of who and ascends to the heavens, having conferred on him his own Gandharva state. The beneficent Rama required to the hermitage of Sabri. When Sabri saw that Sri Rama had called at the abode, she recalled the words of the Meg Matanga and was glad at heart, which lotus like eye, long arm, and tuft of the matted hair adorning their head like a crown in the garden of the wild flowers hanging upon their breasts. The two brothers looked most charming, the one dark of the hue and the other fair. Sabri felt protest and embraced their feet. She was so overwhelmed with love that no one word came to her lips. Again and again she bowed her head at their brother's feet. Presently she took some water and reverently leaved him their feet and then conducted them to a seat of tomorrow. She bought and offered to single Sri Rama and Sri Rama offered to Sri Rama the most delicious bulbs, roots and fruit. The roots and fruits the Lord partook of them, appreciating again and again. Joining her palm, she stood before him as she gazed upon the Lord. Her low love waxed yet more ardent. How can I extol you, lowest in the descents and the dullest of his, as I am, as the joining her palm, she stood before him as she gazed upon the Lord. Her love waxed yet more ardent. How can I extol you? Lower is descends and the wallet skinned and the woman again. I am the most delighted, O destroyer of the sin. Answered the Lord the Raghu, listen, O good lady, to my words, recognizing no other kinship except that of the devotion, despite caste, kinship, lineage, care, cleverance, joining her palm, she stood before him. Now I tell you the nine forms of the devotion. Please listen attentively and cherish them in your heart. The first, in order to company with the saints. First, in order to company with the saints. Seventh is conceit, identity. Recognizing no other kinship, except the devotion. Now I tell you the mind form of the devotion. Please, please listen attentively and cherish them in your hand. The first, in order in company with the saints, and the second is marked by the fondness for my love. Humble service of the lotus feet of the one's first chapter. It is first and it is first. It is it third? Is it the third form of devotion? While the fourth devotion. Humble service of this Lord was devotion, reputation, wealth, physical strength, numerical strength of his family. Wealth, physical strength, numerical strength of his family, accomplishment and ability. A man lacking in devotion is of no more worth than a cloud without water. Now I tell you the nine forms of devotion. Please listen listen attentively and cherish them in your mind. Cherish them in your mind. The first in order in company with the saints, and the second is marked by the fondness for my fondness to my stories. Of his family, accompanied by his family, the man lacking in devotion is no more worth than a cloud without a water. Now I tell you the nine form of the devotion. Please listen attentively and cherish them in your mind. The first in order is company of the saints, and the second is marked by the fondness for my stories. Humble service of the lotus feet of one preceptor is a third form of devotion, while the fourth type of devotion consists of singing my praises with glueless heart, muttering my name with unwavering faith, consisting the fifth form of the devotion. Fifth form of the devotion. Fifth form of devotion. Fifth form of the devotion. Muttering my name and unwavering faith considers the fifth form of the adoration, revealed in the sixth variety considered the practice of self-control and virtue, detesting from the manifold activities and even ever pursued the course of conduct prescribed for the saint. He who practices the seven type of sense, the world full of me, without this distinction, and the reckons the saint as even greater than myself. He who cultivates the either type and reckon the saint as well as greater than myself. He who cultivates the eight type of devotion. He who cultivates the eight type of devotion remains content with whatever he gets and never thinks of detecting others' faults. The ninth form of devotion demands that one should be ruleless and strength in one's own dealing with everybody and should in their heart cherish implicit faith in me without either exclusions or depressions. Whatever possesses any one of these nine forms of the devotion, he has been a woman or other woman or another woman or any other creature, man and other woman, sentient or insentient, is most dear to me. O good lady, as myself, you are uh, the prize which is hardly won by the yogis in within your reach today. The most incomparable fruit of seeing me is that the soul attained the natural state. If you know anything about Janka's daughter, my good lady, tell me her news, O fair dame. Go to the Pampa lake, O Lord of Raghu. There you will make friends with Sugriva. He tell you everything, my Lord Rama. Here of the here of the There you will make friends with Sugriva. He will tell you everything, my Lord Ravana. Hero of the Raghu line. You are the steadily resolved in knowing everything. Nevertheless, you ask me a boon. You ask me, bowing her head at the Lord's feet again and again. She lovely, nerveless, hero of regular. You are steady, know everything, steadily resolved, and know everything. Nevertheless, you ask me, bowing her head at the Lord's feet again and again. She lovingly related the whole story of what the Sikhs Matanga had told her and how eagerly she had watched his approach all the time. After telling the whole story, she gazed on the Lord's countenance and imprinted the image of his lotus feet on her heart, and casting her body in the fire of yoga, she entered Sri Hari's stage, wherefrom there is no return. Woman abundant of a variety of activities such as since in diverse people, all gives woman abundant your virtue activities since a diverse kid which all give birth to the sorrow, and with genuine faith, says Tulsidas, he devoted to the feet of the Shri Ram. Then said Shri Rama, the hero of Ram, to say, I have nothing to hide, and know that I have come, and Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama. He met Jatayu, the king of Varsha, and developing friendship with him, Shri Rama. The alone deserves to be called the Jiva, induces of Vishnu's of Maya, nor God or not oneself. And Shiva God is he who awards bondage and liberation according to one's desire. Transcends transcends all and is the motivation of Sita. Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana. That alone deserves to be called a Jiva individual. Vishnu is not Maya, nor God, nor oneself, and Shiva is he who about bondage and liberation according to the desire transcends all and the motivation to the Maya. Also explain to me all the difference between God and the individual so that I may be devoted to your feet and my sorrow, infatuation and delusion may disappear. I will explain everything in nutshell. Listen, dear brother, with your mind. Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana. As he sat in the middle of assembly, his face turns towards on, his eye fixed on the moon-like face. There seems like a Ravi or Chakura, but gazing on the utmost moon. Then said Shri Rama, the hero of Ragula in the says, I have nothing to hide from you, my lord. You know what for I have come. That is why, holy sir, I have dwelt with the destroyer of the sin. From the time Shri Rama took up his abode there and Sikhs live happily and were rid of all fear. The hill woods, streams, and also explained to me the difference between God and the Brahma. I explained everything in a nutshell, dear brother. From the time Shri Rama took his abode there, his Sikhs lived happily and were rid of the hills, woods, streams, and the lakes. Human beings, Sikhs, instruct me, my Lord, and discourse in me his mean feast. We made Jatayu and developing well in my heart. You, sir. Then said Shri Rama, the hero of Raghulan, to the Sikhs, I have nothing to hide yourself. You know what I have come. That is why I will say I have not dwelt at the length on these points. Now, my good sir, give me some advice by following which I am able to kill the enemies of the hermits. The sage smiles when he learned the when he heard the Lord's remarks. With what intention have you asked me this question? It is by virtue of my devotion to you, O destroyer of sin, that I know a bit of your glory. Your Maya, the creative potency, is like a huge tree of the species known by the name of the Udambara, with the countless multitudes of universe or for its clustering fruit, the animate and the inanimate being inhabiting the various university are like the insects that dwell inside the fruit and know of no other things fruits besides one they inhabit. The relentless and the dreadful time spirit devours these fruits, but even they all devouring time ever tremble in fear to you. You who are the suzerain lord of all the regional bonds have asked my advice as though you were a ordinary human being. I ask this boon to you, O hero of mercy. Pray dwell in my heart with your spouse Sita and younger brother Lakshmana, and let me have intense devotion, dispassion, fellowship with the saints, and unbroken love for your lotus feet. Even though I know you to be the same as the you be same as the indivisible and infinite Brahma, the absolute, who can only be realized and cannot be known by the other person, and is adored by the saints. And even though I depict you as such, I feel enormous of your qualified form again and again. You have always exalted your servants. That is why you have thought fit to consult me. O Lord of Raghu, there is my Lord, a most charming and the holy, most charming and the holy. The most you have always exalted your servant. That is why you have thought fixed to consult me. O Lord of Raghu, there is my Lord, a most charming and the holy spots is the Kal Panchvati. Sanctify the Dandaka forest where it is situated and redeem it from the terrible course of the greater greater sake greater sake Shukracharya. Take up his abode on about their O Lord of Raghu line and show your grace to all the Sikhs. On receiving the Sikhs' permission, the permission of Shri Rama departed and drew next to Panchavati in the short time. He met Jatayu, the king of Virgin, developing friendship with him in many ways. The Lord stayed near to the Godavari, where he made himself a thatched hut of leaves. From the time Shri Rama took up his abode there, Sikhs lived happily and were rid of all fear. The hill, woods, streams, and lakes were supplied with beauty and grew yet more lovely day by day. The birds and deers were full of joy, and the bees with the sweet hummings looks very charming. Not even Shesha, the king of the serpents, would be able to describe the forest which was adorned by the Shri Rama, the chief of the Raghus. In his magnificent form, once upon a time, as the Lord was sitting at ease, Lakshmana addressed them in nor the Shesha, the king of serpents, could be able to describe the forest which was adorned by the Shri Rama, the chief of the Raghus. In his magnificent form, once upon a time, the Lord was sitting at ease. Lakshmana addressed him in clueless words, O Lord of gods, human beings, Sikhs, and all animate and inanimate creation, I ask you as of my own master, instruct me, my Lord, how I am be able to adore the dust of your feet to the exclusion of everything else, discoursing to me as spiritual wisdom and dissipation as well as on Maya illusion, and also speak to me about bhakti due to the bhakti discourse in the original wisdom and dissipation as well as Maya illusion, and also speaks to me about bhakti due to which you shower your grace. Also explain to me the difference between gods and the individual soul, so that I may be able to devote it to your feet, and my sorrow infatuation and delusions may disappear. I will explain everything in a nutshell. I listen, dear brother, with your mind, intellect, and reason fully absorbed. The feeling of I and mine and you and yours is Maya, illusion which holds sway over all characteristics. The whatever is perceived by the senses and that which lie within the reach of the King Rama. Reach of the mind, know it all to be Maya and hear of it vision too. They are the feeling of I and mine and you and yours is Maya, illusion which holds sway over all created being. Whatever is perceived by the senses and which lies within the reach of the mind, know it all to be Maya and hear of it vision too. They are to the knowledge and the ignorance. The one ignorance is vile and extremely painful and has cast the jiva into the metamorphosis. The other which brings forth the creation and which holds sway over the three gunas, sattva, rasa, and tamsa, is directed the other knowledge which brings to the creation and which holds sway, the three gunas, sattva, rasa, and tamsa, is directed by the Lord and has no strength of its own. Spiritual wisdom is that which is free from all blemishes in the shape of the pride, etc., and which sees the Supreme Spirit equally in all. He alone, dear brother, should be well as should be wild and which sees the region, cerebral region equally in all. He alone, dear brother, should be. He alone, dear brother, should be explain everything. The one ignorance and while extremely painful and the cast of jiva into metaphors is the other knowledge which brings forth the creation and which holds sway over the three gunas, sattva, rasa and tamasa is directed by the Lord and has no strength of its own. Spiritual wisdom is that which is free from all blemishes in the shape of the pride etc. and which sees the Supreme Spirit equally in all. He alone, dear brother, should be called a man of the supreme dispassion who has sprung all supernatural power as well as three gunas of which the universe is composed, as if of no more account than a blade of the grass. That alone deserve to be called the Jiva individual soul, which knows not Maya, nor God, nor one's own self, and Shiva, God, is he who awards bondage and liberation according to one's desire, transcends all, and in the motivator of Maya. Dissipation results from the practice of the virtue, while spiritual wisdom comes from the practice of yoga, concentration of the mind, and wisdom is the bestower of liberation. So declare the Vedas, and that which melts my heart quickly, dear brother, is devotion. Dear brother is the this patient results from the practice of the virtue, while spiritual wisdom comes of the practice of the yoga, concentration of mind, and wisdom is the bestower of the liberation. So declare the Vedas, and that which melts my heart, which melts my heart, which melts my heart quickly, dear brother, is devotion, which is the delight of my devotee. It stands by itself and requires no other properties, where Jena knowledge of the God is his absolute formless aspects, and Vijayana knowledge of the qualified aspects of God, both with and without form, depend on it. Devotion, dear brother, is the incomparable and the very root of the bliss. It can be acquired only by the favor of the saints. I now proceed to tell you at some length the means of the devotion, acquiring devotion acquired only there by the favor of the I now proceed to acquiring devotion, an easy path by which man finds me. In the first place, a man should cultivate excessive devotion to the feet of the Brahmans, and secondly, he should remain engaged in his own duty according to the line laid down by the Vedas. In the first place, I am proceeded to tell you length the means of the acquiring devotion, an easy path by which men find me. In the first place, a man should cultivate excessive devotion to the feet of the Brahman. Secondly, he should remain engaged in his own duty according to the lines laid down by the Vedas. This induced an aversion to the pleasure of the sense and dissipation in its turns eagerness as engenders a love for my cult, the cult of devotion. This will bring steadfastness in the nine form of devotion, such as Shravana, hearing of the Lord praises, and the mind will develop excessive fondness for my sports. Again, one should be extremely devoted to the lotus feet of the saints, and should be persistent in the practice of adoration through mind, speech, and action. He should the nine form of devotion are in Srimad Bhagavad Shravana, the hearing of the Lord praises and the stories, Kirtana, chanting his names, praises and stories, Smarana, fixing one's thoughts on him, Padma Sevana, adoring his feet, Archana, worship in the image of the Lord, Vandana, making obeisance of the hymn, Dasya, offering devote service to the Lord, Sankhya, cultivate friendship with him, and Atma Vedana, offering oneself to the God. Recognizing me and his preceptor, father, mother, kinsmen, Lord, deity, and all, and should be steadfast in my service. A thrill ran through his body as he sings my praises. His voice gets choked and his eyes flowed with tears. He is free from lust and other vices, pride and hypocrisy. I am ever at the back at call of such devotee. May I ever repose the lotus heart of those who depends on me in thoughts, words, and deed, and whose worship me in selfless way. Lakshmana was greatly delighted to hear the above discourse on the discipline of the bhakti devotion, and bowed his hat at the feet of the Lord. In this way, some days were spent discoursing on dissipation, spiritual wisdom, goodness, and morality. Now, Ravana, the notorious demon king of the Lanka, had a sister Shurpanakha, a woman having nails as big as a windrowing fan by name, who was foul-hearted and cruel as a serpent. She once went to the Panchavati and was smitten with pains of separation at the sight of the two princes, at the very sight of the handsome man, be her own brother, father, or son. O Garuda, a Vatan woman get excited and cannot restrain her passion, even as a sunstone emits fire when it is brought in front of the sun. Having assumed a charming form, she approached the lords and with many a smile addressed the following words to him: "There is no man like you and no woman like me. It is with the great deliberation the God has made this pair. I have ransacked the three spheres, but have found no suitable match to me in the whole universe. It is for this reason that I have till now remained a virgin. My mind has been set rest a bit only after seeing you." The Lord cast a glance of the Sita and said only this much. Uh, Shri Ramayana, 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 Shri Ramayana. Having pressed on her heart the beautiful, having impressed, having Shri Ramayana, Shri Ram, having impressed. Having impressed in her heart the beautiful image Shri Rama, he appeared while running the pursuit of the false deer. Sita incessantly repeated Shri Hari's name. Uh, When the Lord of Raghu saw his younger brother coming, he outwardly expressed much concern. "Thus you have left Janka's daughter alone and come here against my instruction. Host of the demons are roaming about in the forest. I therefore suspect Sita is not the hermitage." Lakshmana clasped Sri Rama's lotus feet and replied with the joined palms, "Lord, it is no fault of the mine." Accompanied by his younger brother, the Lord went back to his hermitage on the bank of the Godavari. Then he saw the hermitage bereft of the Janka's daughter. He felt as perturbed and afflicted as any common man. As Sita, Janka's daughter, the very mine of the virtue of such flawless beauty, characters, austerity, and devotion. Lakshmana consoled him many ways. He cautions all the creepers and the trees that stood on the ways as he went along his search of her. O birds and deer, O string of the bees, having you seen the fawn-eyed Sita, the wagtail, the parrot, the pigeons, the deer, the fish, the swan of the bees, the clever cuckoo, the jasmine birds, the pomegranate, the lightning, the lotus of the autumnal moons, the gliding serpents, the noose of the Varuna, the god of the water, the bow of the Cupid, the swan, and the elephants and the lion now hear themselves praise. The bilva fruits and the gold bananas rejoice and do not feel the least misgiving or bashfulness. Listen, Janka's daughter, in your absence today, they are all glad as if they have got a kingdom. How can you bear such a rivalry? Why do you not reveal yourself quickly, my darling? In this way, the Lord splashed and laminated like an anxious husband, sore smitten in the pangs of the separation. Sri Rama is a bliss personified and has all wishes accomplished, and who is both unborn and immortal, behave like a mortal. Further on, they saw the king of the vultures lying with the thoughts fixed on the Sri Rama's feet, which be a characteristic marks on their soul. The hero of Ragula in the ocean of the mercy carries Jatayu's head on his lotus hands, and the birds gazed on Sri Rama's countenance, the home of the loveliness. All his pain disappeared. The vulture now recovered himself and spoke as follows: "Listen, Rama, the allayer of the fear of the transmigration. It was the 10-headed Ravana, my lord, who reduced me to this plight. It was the same wretch who carried off Janka's daughter. He took her away, holy sir, to the south, while he kept screaming loudly as a osprey. I have survived, my lord, only to behold you. My life now is about to depart. O fountain of mercy," said Sri Rama, "live yet more, dear one." He, however, replied with a smile on his countenance, "He whose very name so declares the Vedas redeems the most depraved soul, even if it appears on his lips at the moment of his death, it present before me in the visible form. What more is wanting now, for which I should retain my body any longer? With his eyes full of tears, the Lord of Love replied, "Dear father, you have attained to an invisible state by virtue of your own noble deed. Nothing is difficult to attainment in this world to those who have others' interests at heart. Casting off your body, dear father, proceed now to my divine abode. What shall I give you when you have all your desires already accomplished?" But on reaching there, sires, tell not my father about Sita's abduction. If I am no other than Rama, if I am what I am, the ten-headed Ravana and his whole house will go and say everything to him. The vulture now dropped his body and assumed Shri Rama's, Shri Hari's, assumed the vulture now dropping off his body and assumed Shri Hari's own form, uh, were backed by the many jewels and clad in the yellow attire of the matchless splendor and possessed of a dark hue and the four long arms, and which has eye full of tears, he burst into the praises of Lord. Glory to Shri Rama of incomparable beauty, who is absolute as well as qualified, and the true emperor of the Gunas Maya too. His fierce arrows are potent enough to cut off the terrible arms of the ten-headed Ravana. I incessantly adore the all-merciful Shri Rama, the ornament of the truth, who is endowed while the Lord, while the Lord, while the Lord incessantly adores the all-merciful Shri Rama, the ornament of the earth, who is endowed with the form dark as a rain cloud, a face resembling the blue lotus, and a large eye resembling the red lotuses. Possessed of the long arm, he rids his devotee of the fear of the transmigration. His strength is immeasurable. He is without beginning and unborn, the one without a second, unmanifested and imperceptible, beyond the reach of the sense, through attainable with the help of the Vedic hymns, the dispeller of the pairs of the opposites such as joy and sorrow, birth and death, pleasure and pain, consciousness personified, the supporter of the earth, the delighter of the soul of countless saints and the devotees who repeat the sacred name of the Rama. I ever extol Shri Rama, who love and is loved by those who are free from the desire and curb the host of the vicious properties such as lust and so on. He whose the Vedas glorify under the name of the Brahma, pure, free from the tent of the Maya, all pervading, passionless and unborn, whose the sage attend the through when feet practices such as meditation, consciousness perceived the supporter of the earth, the delighter of the soul of the countless saints and the devotee who repeats the sacred name of the Shri Ramayana. I ever extol Shri Rama, who loves and is loved by those who are free from the desires and curbs the host of the vicious properties such as lust and so on. He whom the Vedas glorify under the name of Brahma, pure, free from tent of the Maya, all pervading, passionless and unborn, whose sake attend through manifold practice such as meditation, discretion, dissipation and yogas, that fountain of mercies has become manifested as the very incarnation of the beauty and enriched the whole animate and the inanimate creation. He is the being that resides in the lotus of my heart, and through every limbs of his shines every limbs of it shines the splendor of many a good of love, many a god of love. He who is at once inaccessible, easily accessible, who has rulers, dispassion, and both potential and impartial and partial, and ever placid, whom the yogi perceive with great effort, subduing the senses and minds, that Rama, the abode of the Rama's goddess Lakshmi, and the lord of the three spheres, the entire creation, is ever at the beck and call of his devotee. May he abide in my heart, whose holy praises put a stop to transmigration. Asking the boon of the uninterrupted devotion to the vulture Jatayu, had sent to the Shri Hari's abode, Shri Rama performed his funeral rite with due ceremony and with his own hands. Thus the Lord of you most tender-hearted and compassionate to the humble, and showed his mercy even where there is the occasion for it. On a vulture who is most unclean and the carnivorous bird, he comforted a state which is solicited even by the yogis. Listen, Uva, those people are unfortunate indeed who abandon Sri and become attached to the object of the sense. The two brothers proceeded further in the quest of the Sita and marked in the tickling of the forest even as they went. The thickest was full of the creepers and trees and inhabited by the many birds and the deer, elephants and the lions. Shri Ram overthrew the demon Kabandha even as the latter met him the way he told him the whole story about the curse pronounced on him. The six Durvasas had impacted me. The sin has now been wiped out by the sight of the Lord's feet. Listen, O Gandharva, to what I tell you. I cannot tolerate an enemy of the Brahmans. He who without glue in thoughts, words and deeds does service to the Brahmans, the very gods, or wise over Brahma, Shiva, he who's without glue of the thoughts, words, and deeds does perceive the Brahmas, the very gods, or on earth, means over Brahma, Shiva, myself, and all other divinities. A Brahma ever produced to throw a Brahma even through the curse you beat you speaks harsh words to you is still worthy of adoration. So declare the saints. So Brahmans must be respected through lack of humility and virtue, not a Shudra through possessing a host of virtues and rich of knowledge. The Lord instructed Kadamba on his whole cult, the cult of devotion, and was delighted at heart to see his devotion to his feet. Having regained his original form, that is Gandharva, he bowed his head to the lotus feet of the Shri Rama, the Lord of Raghu, and ascends to the heaven. Having comforted on him his own Gandharva state, the benefit, Shri Rama repaired to the hermitage of the Sabri. When Sabri saw that Shri Rama had called at her abode, she recalls the words of the sage Matanga and was glad at heart, with lotus-like eyes, long arms, and the tuft of the matted hair, adoring her head like a crown and gladdened the wildflowers hanging upon their breast. The two brothers looked most charming, the one dark of the hue, another fair. Shabri felt protest and embraced their feet. She was so overwhelmed with love that no words came to her lips. Again and again she bowed her head at their lotus feet. Presently she took some water and reverently leave their feet, and they conducted them to the seat of the honor. She bought and offered the Shri Rama the most delicious bulbs, roots, and fruits. The Lord partook of them, appreciating again and again. Joining her palm, she stood before him. As she gazed upon the Lord, her love waxed yet more ardent. How can I extol you, lowest? Lowest is the indecent and the dullest of wit, as I am. A woman is the lowest of those who ranks as the lowest of the low of the women. Again, I am the most dull-headed, O destroyer of the sin. Answered the Lord of Raghu, listen, O good lady, to my words. I recognize no other kinship except that the devotion, of devotion, despite caste, kinship, lineage, the drama, reputation, wealth, physical strength, numerical strength of his family, accomplishment and ability. A man lacking in devotion is of no more worth than a cloud without water. Cloud without water. Now I tell you the 9 forms of devotion. Please listen attentively and cherish them in your mind. The first in order to company with the saints, and the second is marked by the fondness for my story. Humble service of the lotus feet of one preceptor is the third form of the devotion, while the fourth type of devotion consists of singing my praises with a clueless heart. Muttering my names and unwavering faith constitutes the fifth form of devotion revealed in the Vedas. The sixth variety consists of practice of self-control and the virtues, desisting from manifold activities and even pursued the course of the conduct prescribed for saints. He who practices the 7 types see the world full of me without distinction. Without discussion, Shri Rama. The sixth variety consists of practice of self-control and the virtues, delisting from the manifold activities, even pursued the course of the conduct prescribed for the saint. He who practices the seven type of sees the world full of me. Without this decide he cultivates the high eight type of devotion, remains content with whatever he gets and never thinks of the detachment to other faults. He who practices the seven types see the full of me without this. The sixth variety consists of practice of self-control and virtue, the listing of manifold activities and pursuing the course of conduct prescribed for the saints. He who cultivates the eight type of devotion remains content with whatever he gets and never thinks of detecting others' fault. The ninth form of devotion demands that one should demand that the ninth he who cultivates the eight type of devotion remain content with whatever he gets and never think of the detecting others first. The ninth form of devotion demands that one should be glueless and straight in others' dealings, while everybody and should in his heart cherish implicit faith in me without either exclusion or depression. However, possess any one of these nine forms of the devotion, be he man or woman or any other creature, sentient and insentient, is most dear to me. O good lady, as for myself, you are blessed with the unflicting devotion to all these types, the prize which is hardly won by the yogis in within your easy reach today. The most incomparable fruit of seeing me is that the soul attains the natural state. If you knowing anything about uh, Janka's daughter, he took lady. Tell me, tell me her news, fair dame. Go to the Pampa lake, O Lord of the Raghu, where you will make friends with Sugriva. He will tell you everything, my Lord Rama, hero of the Raghu line. You are the steady resolves and know everything nerveless. You ask me, bowing her head at the Lord's feet again and again. She lovingly, he will tell you everything, my Lord Rama. You of the Raghulan, you are the steady resolves and know everything. In her flesh, you ask me, bowing her head at the Lord's feet. Again and again, she lovingly related the whole story of what the Sikh Matanga had told her and how eagerly she had watched his approach all the time. After telling the whole story, she gazed on the Lord's countenance and imprinted the image of his lotus feet on her heart, and casting her body in the fire of yoga, she entered Shri Hari's state wherefrom there is no returns. O man, abandon your variety activities, sense, and the diverse creed which all give birth to the sorrow, and with genuine faith, says Tustas, be devoted to the feet of the Rama. The Lord comforted final way to even a woman who was not only outcast but very mind of the sin. You see happiness, my most foolish mind, by forgetting such a master. Here I left even the forest and proceeded further. Two brothers were lions amongst men and possessed immeasurable strength. The Lord lamented like one smitten with pains of the separation. He narrated stories and had many dialogues with Lakshmana. Lakshmana marked the beauty of the forest, forest whose heart will not be stirred at the sides. United with the mates, all the song of the birds and the herds of the deers are approaching me, as it were. When the bucks see me and the scampers away, their mates would stop them, saying, "You have nothing to fear. You may enjoy yourself at will." O progeny of deer, he has come in the search of the gold deer. The elephant would take their mates along with them, as it were to teach me a lesson, that a man should never leave his house and never leaving to leave this house. The elephant would take their mates along with them, teach me a lesson that a man should never leave his wife alone. The Sakar's lore, however, through studies must be gone through over and over again. A king, however well served, should never be depended upon, and the woman's scriptures and the king, even though you may cherish her in your bosom, is never thoroughly mastered. See, brother, how pleasant the spring is yet to me, bereft of my beloved, it is frightful. When the god of love found me tortured by separation, languishing and all along the day, he rushed against me with the verdant forest, bees and the birds for his army. His spies, the winds, however, has seen me with my brothers, and on his reports the mind-born Cupid has held up his advancing armies, and beside me, as it were, creepers have entwined themselves round gigantic trees, spreading as it were a variety of canopies in the sky. The platen and steady plains are standing like beautiful peonies and the standards. He alone, who is stout of the heart, should could help being fascinated by their sight. Trees of the every description are adorned with the flowers of the various kind, like a warrior arrayed in all the different kind of the panoply. Other beautiful trees standing here and there no, look charming like champions separately and kept. The murmuring cuckoos are his excited elephants, herons and the rooks, his camels and the mules, peacocks, chakoras and parrots, his noble war horses, the pigeons and the swan, his Arab steeds, the partridge and the quails, his foot soldiers, but there is no describing the whole host of the Cupid. Mountain rocks are his carrots, the rills his cattledom, the chatkas, the birds and that utter his praises. The grullos bees are his tumplets and the clarets and the soft, cool and the fragrant breeze have come in the capacity of his ambassadors, accompanied by an army complete in all its four limbs, the horse, the foot, the carrots, and the elephants. He goes about challenging all to the combat. Lakshmanade, who remain firm even at the sight of the Cupid battle array, are men that count in his words. His greatest strength lies in woman. He alone who can escape her is a mighty champion. Whether there are three evils most formidable to of all: lust, anger, and greed. In an instance, they distract the mind of the hermit, who are the very repository of the wisdom. The weapons of the greed are desire and hypocrisy of lust, not by the woman, while anger's weapon is harsh speech. So declare the great sages after deep thought. Shri Rama's dear Uma says Bhagwan Shiva is beyond the three gunas sattva, rasa, and tamsa, through the Lord of animate and the inanimate creation and their inner controller of all. By speaking as above, he demonstrated the miserable plight of the earthly lovers and strengthened this passion in his mind of his wives. Anger, lust, greed, pride, and delusions, all these get eliminated through Shri Rama's grace. He who wins the favor of the divine pair is never deluded by his jugglery. Uma, I tell you my own realization. The only thing real is worship of the Shri Rama, and the whole world is dream. The Lord then repaired to the shore of the deep and the beautiful lake known by the name of the Pampa. Its water was limpid as the heart of the saints, and it had charming flight of the step of all its foresight. Beasts of the various kinds drank of its water wherever they listened, as if there was a crowd of the beggars ever present at the house of the generous man. Coveted by the dame's lotus leaves, the water could not be easily discussed, even as the attributeless Brahma is not perceived when wheeled by the Maya ignorance. All the fishes that had their abode in the fathomless water of the lake were uniformly happy, even as the virtuous ever passed their days usefully. Lotus of the different colors has opened their petals, and swarm of the bees sweetly hummed. Swarm and the water flocks made such a noise as though they had burst into the Lord praises the moment they saw him. Birds like a chakravaka and the herons were lovely beyond words. One could form an idea of their beauty only after seeing them. The voice of the beautiful bird was so captivating that it seems they invited the wayfarer who passed by them. By the side of the lake, hermit had erected their thatched cottage. There was charming forest. There were trees all around: the champaka, the vakula, the kadamba, and the tamla, the patala, the panasa, the palasha, the mango, and the many other variety of trees has put forth new leaves and the blossoms, and swarm of bees hums on them. a delightful breeze which was naturally cool, gentle, and fragrant. Ever breathes there, the cuckoos cooed so sweetly that their melody disturbs the hermit in their meditation. Waiting down with the Lord of their fruits, all the fruit trees well nigh touch the ground. Even as a benevolent soul grow all the more humble on getting a large fortune. When the Shri Rama saw the most beautiful lake, he took a dip into it and felt supremely delighted. Seeing the pleasant shade of the stately tree, the Lord of Raghu sat in it with a younger brother. There all the gods and saints came once more, and having hymned their praises, returned to their several homes. The All Merciful sat in the most cheerful mood and discoursed with his younger brother on delightful topics. When the sixth Narada saw the Lord suffering the pains of the separation, he felt much perturbed at heart. It is in submission to my curse that the Lord is undergoing many hardships of the oppressive nature. Let me therefore go and see him and see such a noble Lord, for such a opportunity not present itself again. Reflecting this, Narada went, lute in hands, to the spots where the Lord was sitting at ease. He fondly sings in a soft voice of the exploit of Shri Rama, dwelling upon them in all details as he protests himself. The Lord lifted him up and held into his embrace for a long time. After inquiring the welfare, he seated him by his side, while Lakshmana reverently leaved his feet. After much supplication and realizing that the Lord was pleased at heart, Nada joined his lotus form and spoke as follows. Listen, O Lord of the Raghu, generous by nature as you are, you confer delightful boons that are unattainable as well as those that they are attainable. Grant me my you grant me my master only one boon that I ask of you, even though you already know it, even without any asking. Indwelling as you do the heart of the all, you know my disposition, dear sakes. Do I ever hide anything from my devotee? What object do I hold so dear, O chief of the Sikhs, that you may not ask it of me? There is nothing which I may withhold from my votary. Never give up this belief even by the mistake. The Narada gladly said, this is the boon I presume to ask. Even though my Lord had many names, each greater than the other, as the Vedas declare that the name Rama, my Lord, surpassed all other names in the exterminating the whole brood of the sins, even as a flower kills an entire flock of the birds. May the name Rama shines as the moon, and the other names are as so many stars in the cloudless sky of his devotees' hearts during the full moon night of the devotion to you, the all merciful Lord of the Raghu. Replied to the Sikhs, so be it. Thereupon Narada felt much delighted at heart and bowed at the Lord's feet. Seeing the Lord Raghu so highly pleased, Narada spoke again gentle to listen, O Rama, when you impelled your Maya, deluding potency, and infatuated me, O Lord of Raghu, I wanted to marry. Why then did you not let me accomplish my desire? Listen, O Sikhs, I tell you with all the emphasis at my command that I always take care of those who worship me with undividing faith, even as a mother guards her child. If an infant child runs to the cache, holds the fire or snacks, the mother holds in aside. When, however, her son has grown up, she loves him no doubt, but not as before. The wise are like my grown-up sons, while humble devotees are like my infant child. A devotee depends on me, while the former, a wise man, depends on his own strength, and both have to face enemies like lust and anger. Pondering thus, the prudent adore me and never take leave of the devotion, even after attaining wisdom. Lust, anger, greed, pride, etc. constitute the most powerful army of the ignorance, but among them all the fairest caste and the most troublesome is the incarnation of the Maya, the Lord's deluding potency called woman. Listen, says the Purana, the Vedas, and the saints declare that woman is like the vernal season of the forest of the ignorance. Nay, like the hot season, she dried up all the ponds and the lake of the Japan, muttering of prayers, austerity, and religious observance against lust, anger, pride, and jealousy. Are so many frogs, as it were, like the rainy season. Woman is the only agency that gladdened them all. Even so, latent desires of the vicious type are like a bed of lilies, to which, like Atma, she is ever agreeable. All the different virtues are like a bed of lotus, like a middle of the winter. Woman, who is the source of the base sensuous pleasure, blight them all. Again, the overgrown, the Yavasna plant in the shape of the meanness flourish when the close of the winter in the shape of the woman appears. For all is the shape of the since woman is the delightful night, thick with darkness. Even so, reason, strength, virtue, and truth are all so many fishes, as it were, and woman, so declare the wise, is like a hook to catch them. A young woman is the root of our village, source of the torment and mine of all woes. Therefore, bearing this in mind, O Sikh, I prevented your marriage. As the Sikh listened that the delightful word of the Shri Ram, the Lord of the Raghu, a thrill ran through his body and his eyes filled with tears. He said to himself, "Tell me, is there any other master who will not it to show such attachment and fondness for his servant? Men who refuse to worship such a Lord, shaking off all delusion, are bankrupt of the wisdom, dull-witted and wretched." The Sikhs Narada again reverently spoke to the Lord. "Listen, O Rama, who are well versed in the sacred lore. Tell me, my Lord Raghuvira, hero of the Raghuline, the distinguished mark of the saints. O dispeller of the fear of transmigration, I tell you, dear Sikhs, the quality of the saints by virtue of which they hold me in the subjection. They are master of the six passions: lust, anger, greed, infatuation, pride, and jealousy. Sinless, uninterested, firm, possessing nothing, pure, both with and without, full of bliss of boundless wisdom, desireless, moderate to diet, truthful, inspired, learned, and united with God, good circumstances. Good circumstances, bestowing honor on others, free from pride, strong minded, and highly conversant with the course of the drama. Go. They are abode of the virtue, abode the sorrow of the world, who and free from the doubt. Nothing besides my lotus feet is dear to them, not even their body, nor their home. They blush to hear themselves praises, but feel much delighted to hear others' praises. Even minded and the placid, they never abandon the right course. Clueless by nature and loving, they are given over to the pairs, austerity, control of the senses, self-denial, religious observances, and undertake sacred work. They are devoted to the feet of their gurus, Lord Govinda, and the Brahmas. They are full of piety, forgiving, friendly to all, compassionate, cheerful under all circumstances, and sincerely devoted to my feet. They are further characterized by the discretion, modesty, knowledge of the truth relating to the God, as well as by the correct knowledge of the Vedas and Puranas. They never take recourse of hypocrisy, pride, or arrogance, nor set their foot on the evil path, even by the mistake. They are even engaged in the singing or hearing my stories, and are intent on doing good to others without any consideration. In short, O good sakes, the qualities of the saints are so numerous that they cannot be exhausted even by Sharda, goddess of speech, nor by the Vedas. Neither Sharda nor Shesha could tell them. Even as he heard this, the Sikhs Narada clasped the Lord lotus feet. In this way, the all merciful Lord, the benefactor of the meek, recounted with his own lips the virtues of his devotees. Narada bowed his head at the Lord's feet again and again, and left to the abode of the Brahma, the Creator. Blessed are they, says Tulsidas, whose giving up all hopes are steeped in love for the Sri Hari. People who sing and hear the sanctifying praises of the Ravana's foes shall be rewarded with steadfast devotion to Shri Rama, even without dispassion, japa, or concentration of mind. The boy of a younger woman neither is like the flame of the candles, be not a moth to the on my mind. Abandoning lust and pride, worship Shri Rama, enjoy the company of the saints. Pause 22 for a 30 days recitation. Shri Ram charit sakal कलिक तृतीय सोमवार समाप्त। श्री रामाय नमः।